I've been saying for weeks, months, I want to be more like Arsenal. Goalkeepers going down, time wasting, in-game management, housery. I saw all of that. Honestly, I'm watching this going, that is what I want to see. This is on you. You're being exposed now. Show us what you've got.
I think the players need someone that they can respect before they even open their mouth.
If Iriola rocked up at the beginning of next season, I would not have an issue with that at all.
I think Zidane's aura alone would win us the Champions League, honestly. I think he could stand there in silence, not speak a word of English, and we'd win trophies.
Hello and welcome to Inside Chelsea, the show for Chelsea fans by Chelsea fans. This show is sponsored by BetMGM. Download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk, 18+ gambleaware.org. Please gamble responsibly. I'm Toby Evenden and I'm joined by former Chelsea defender Jason Cundy and lifelong Chelsea fan Matisse, who's a broadcaster as well. Guys,
boys,
back at Wembley.
A win, honestly.
Back at Wembley already.
Oh, wow. We've waited a while for this moment, haven't we? We've been going through it for the last few weeks, so it feels good, I can't lie, yeah.
What a hilarious club, though.
Yeah, hilarious.
We've waited months on end for a clean sheet, months on end for a goal, and we've ended up getting our way to a final by doing both. Absolutely crazy. But what were your thoughts seeing that lineup yesterday? Obviously, we had a change of manager going into it, and it felt like, are we going to see a difference? Are we going to see more of the same?
I think we're all sat there more in hope than real belief because of how bad it's been going into that. But we started really well. It didn't escape my notes or any other Chelsea fan that Sanchez decided early part of the game not to mess around on the edge of his box, not invite that pressure, bypass the press, play long. João Pedro's hold-up play, winning headers was outrageously good. He was brilliant. And then I said before the game, I'm looking at you, Pedro Neto. I'm looking at Moises. I'm looking at Cucurella, Pedro Neto, Enzo. You know, the big players. Come on, you owe the Chelsea fans a performance. And they gave it and they delivered. It's amazing what the change in manager and change in style can do. We were so hell-bent on playing out from the back and inviting pressure, and we couldn't get out. There were games, I mean, that first half against Brighton. What was that all about? And then you look at that, and it's actually, right, keep the game simple, play the best players in the best positions, don't overcomplicate things. Centre-halves, you go up, squeeze the halfway line, then we come down to knockdowns, win the second ball, win the third ball. We were doing lots and lots of that. And Leeds they couldn't adapt first half. The most disappointing aspect for me was that we didn't actually go in 2-0 up because I felt we were that good. Enzo was outrageously good. The front four was so good. The link-up play, the understanding, little pop-off balls, the support from behind, ball goes into João Pedro. Enzo's supporting, he can see it, the eyes. It's not one of those where he's just bouncing balls off more in hope and anticipation. It was a genuine build-up play, so good. And Callum McFarlane, well done, because to change what we looked at for the last 5 games domestically in the Premier League to that, well done. But the players, there must have been some self-reflection because there was no hiding place now. There was no blame Rosenior. He's gone. And no one's going to point the finger at McFarlane because he's new and he's inexperienced. The players had to step up and they delivered. So well done them, but where's that been for the last 5-6 weeks?
That's what I mean. It was the basic fundamentals of it that I just found shocking, that there was just such an uplift that quickly.
Yeah, but we've seen this before. I mean, I remember when VS Burst came in and the players kind of down tools a little bit there as well. And it's one of those things where I think the players themselves, if they don't like the instructions that the manager's given or they disagree with it, but they still have to implement it, at some point, if the results therefore are not reflecting the instructions that they're given as well, they're just going to naturally not be on the same page. And the goalkeeping position is a prime example because we were having all this kind of debacle about should we play Jorgensen or should we play Sanchez against PSG at the Parc des Princes. From Sanchez being a contender for Player of the Year to not knowing if he's number one to now coming back in goal against Leeds, having a simplified basic instruction of just go long if you're not sure, have a bit of variety to your play, and he was much better from a shot stopping standpoint. It was fantastic again, but also just the long balls up to João Pedro, allowing us to build our attacks from there. Bit of variety, no short passing where there's no need for it, not giving the ball away in dangerous positions. That puts confidence into the back line because now they know that it is safety first, and they can go long as well. And we saw quite a few clearances, particularly in the second half where we was a little bit more under the cosh. We weren't dominating the game. Just back to basics, really, and no pressure on a certain philosophy that a lot of these guys can't really play or can't, it doesn't suit them.
There's no one size fits all, right? The game changes, players move. The picture in front of you when you receive the ball and you get your head up, the picture will change again. And it's about allowing players to be having some more control or more responsibility about what they see, and they play the game that's in front of them, not the game that you map out on the training ground. We can all have an idea about how the game wants to go, but players in the position will change and they'll try and stop. In the first half, none of this rubbish, none of this build-up play, right? You want to draw them onto you. There was a couple of times where it looked like we might play out. Up we go. Go long. João Pedro. But you need the performance from him to justify that long ball and get bodies around and support. If those two things aren't in place, one, Sanchez is good with the ball at his feet when he goes long. Right? We saw that in the Club World Cup against PSG. He's capable. Hit those areas. It's not rocket science. Hit the areas, get bodies around it. João Pedro, can you hold the ball up? Can you fight? Can you get a little flick on? Can you make the next ball a fight ball that we can go and win that? And actually, we've done it all so well.
Yeah.
But I think you look back to the Rosenior period, Rosenior was like, it's playing from here's how I want to do it, and you do it. And if you don't, a little bit like Maresca early part. Maresca realised quite early on, and he changed the way that Sanchez decided to play, because he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And if he's happy with the ball at his feet and he does what is natural to him, then you see a totally different goalkeeper. And we saw that.
Yeah, I felt like we saw a different Chelsea, because it was about, like you said, it's hiding those weaknesses and showcasing all the strengths, going along to João Pedro, Bob not having to deal with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Someone I thought really did shine, and Palmer was on the bench, who's usually our number 10. I thought Enzo Fernandez in that first half, it felt like the midfield really, they showcased why they are £100 million midfielders, I felt.
Yeah.
I felt like they really just, destroyed that game.
I think when it comes to Enzo Fernandez, where people ask what does he bring to this team or what does he do, you just have to go and take a look at his statistics at least for the last 2 seasons. Go and look at the goal scoring contributions, the assist rate. For me, this midfield without him is very flat. It doesn't have many goals in it. It doesn't have many attacking instincts or threats in it without him. And he's a player that has stood up in big moments many times this season. Look back at the Etihad, even with the same interim in charge, he gets the late equaliser, he gets the winning goal in the FA Cup semi-final. Even go back to last year in the Conference League final, he gets the header as well there to spearhead the comeback against Betis. Whether you think that he's worth the money or not, and I would understand why you would think he isn't, because it was a lot of money, it's very clear what he brings to this team. And that profile of midfielder doesn't exist out there. There's not a plethora of options in terms of midfield of these types of characteristics, these types of traits. And if Chelsea weren't to keep this player after the fallout a couple of weeks ago in the summer, they would have a very, very tough time trying to replace them in their current predicament as well, which is the weakest predicament they've been in status-wise. So, yeah, he passing-wise, shooting-wise, box-crashing-wise, he's very, very important, very integral. Also, I think Lavia, if you look at the lineup, Tanaka is someone, and I've seen him and Ampadu link up together, and against Manchester United, we always see that game. They were outrageously good. Those two, Okafor one side, Aronson the other. Those two couldn't get the ball. Lavia was squeezing the pitch, Moises, which allowed Enzo almost to have he has got a free roll, but he was coming out to the left, he was going out to the right, dropping deep, supporting. He was allowed to do that role because I felt Lavia was good. He ran out of legs. I think that's why we saw Santos come on and add a little bit more, because we were kind of struggling in that part of the game. But I thought Moises and Lavia in there, making sure the two midfielders had nothing. And then, as I said, Okafor and Aronson had no effect in the game first half. None. Aronson, that one chance where perhaps he should do better, but good save from Sanchez.
Yeah, it did feel like packing out that midfield made a big difference. And usually we play with the two and Palmer plays ahead of them. Do you think that's something maybe we'll look at? Like, will it be Palmer on the right, or is this something that maybe he will have to ease his way back into the team over the next few weeks?
Unfortunately, when Palmer came on, he didn't show why we should prioritise him playing in that 10 or prioritise him playing off the start. I think if Chelsea had better options in terms of depth, you look at the Foden situation, PFA Player of the Year at City, Cherki comes in, puts him on the bench. If we had that type of option, I don't think the conversation around Palmer having to start would be as big as it is, because he's not playing very well, and that's very clear to see. Me, from a selfish standpoint, the way he's playing at the moment and the way he even played when he came on, he just didn't look... He looked a bit leggy, even though he was meant to be fresh. He was still kind of turning over possession, didn't really have the pace to get away from players. I wouldn't want him to go to the World Cup with England. I would want him to have a clear summer, complete rest. Send your Bellingham, send your Ezes, whoever else in that 10 position. Let Palmer have a complete summer off, no football, no training, and try and get back to his level next season. Because we know the quality that he has, but he's not showing anywhere near the level that he's capable of in this Chelsea team. And I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't be prioritising putting him in the 10 over having a three-man midfield and trying to get more control, especially when Enzo is giving you goals from midfield as well. Maybe you could put him on the right, but yeah, I don't think we need to be just shoving him in the team just for no reason. I think we do need to try and see if we can build back a better version of him.
Yeah, and he doesn't look 100% fit. Also, the game had changed when he came on. They changed their shape. The momentum was more with them. We had clearly had a set-up to, try and break us down and we'll try and catch you on the counter-attack. So the game had changed. Had Palmer been involved in that first half, you may well have seen a different Cole Palmer. But he came on at a point of the game where, let's not concede, but let's still offer something. But at the same point, what Matisse is saying, he did look a little bit off the pace.
Yeah, I don't know if it's injury or confidence at the moment with him. It's a bit of a funny one, isn't it?
Both.
Yeah. But it was also just, like we touched on earlier, in terms of those fundamentals, it was quick passing, it wasn't messing around at the back. There was a lot of running, it felt like, in that first half. Did you guys feel the players took the mick a little bit where you thought, where has that been?
Well, there's no hiding place now. Liam's gone, Rossini's gone. There's no hiding place. You can't hide behind the manager anymore. Now there was some self-reflection, and this is on you. You're being exposed now. Show us what you've got. Show us who you are, because we've seen it. And what those performances is twofold. One, clearly they weren't playing for a senior. Things were getting worse. It was a tailspin of a season. And once a player gets into a situation where they don't trust or believe what they're being asked of them, and the results will back that up, players will then become quite selfish. But it's an FA Cup semi-final. There's a medal at the end of it. And sometimes you look at teams and say, how come they're so good in Europe, or how come they're so good in cup competitions, but their league form, Spurs, great example, because there's a medal at the end.
Yeah.
There's something at the end of it. Staying in the Premier League, Spurs should do that anyway, but now they find themselves in the right pickle. But you often see this in cup competitions, and players will say, we're one game away now from a final and picking up an FA Cup winners' medal, which none of these boys have done except for Cole Palmer. Maybe Reece, I can't remember. But the point I'm trying to make is, you're going to showcase what you got. They owed us that performance. They owed us, and they delivered. Let's move on. What's happened has happened, right? I want to see that for the rest of the season now.
Yeah.
No half measures. No, not going out 50-50 challenges like Liam Rossini highlighted against Brighton. They're 50-50s going in. That's what you're duty bound to do that as a Chelsea player.
If you're judging the mentality shift of this team, you're looking much more at the Forest game in the league, where you're coming up against a team that are fighting relegation. We've seen how good Forest have been, in the previous game against Sunderland. You're gonna get a lot more better perspective on this team and the mentality and the commitment to the cause for the league. Same going to Anfield, very difficult fixture. Like you said, I think the cup semi-final at Wembley is a bit of a...
And the whole world's watching.
It's an easy one to get up for. If you can't get up for that, then I don't know if you're even a professional at that point, a professional footballer.
Cup semi-final at Wembley.
Yeah. It's just, you don't need the biggest team talk to get motivated for that, do you?
Shouldn't do.
You shouldn't do. So,
but I thought it was their actual maturity that we saw throughout the game that had been a complete contrast of what we've seen in recent weeks.
We are a naive team.
I've
been saying for weeks, months, I want to be more like Arsenal. Goalkeepers going down, time wasting, in-game management, housery. I saw all of that. Honestly, I'm watching this going, that is what I want to see. In-game management, take the sting out of the game. The Leeds fans around me were absolutely booing. But I'm watching going, if the same the result on the other foot, you'd be doing the same.
Of course.
And I was really impressed with how mature that performance was.
If you go through that team, though, that was quite an experienced version of what we have in this squad. Apart from Reece James for Gusto, you can't really put out an older team than that potentially. In terms of that midfield, they're all internationals. They've played in big tournaments. You look at the front line, Neto's been in the Premier League for donkey's years, João Pedro the same, and Tosin and Chalobah, they've got the most mileage in terms of minutes played, Cucurella, Sanchez. That is the experienced version of Chelsea. So if they didn't show it, I don't think, boy, good luck when you're throwing your Delaps and your Santoses and players like that into the fold, and your Hattos. That is, our leadership team, our leadership group. So they had to show it. And I feel like they maybe would have learned the lessons of previous games against Leeds this season, where maybe they didn't understand the occasion, understand the rivalry. what they experienced at Ellen Road, they wouldn't have forgotten that. And they know, everybody's been talking about the rivalry, I think, going into this game as well. They would have heard little bits of it now. They knew that they had to turn up properly for that fixture because there was no way they were going to get an easy game if they didn't. Yeah.
Did you guys feel like Tosin made quite a big difference? I mean, it was a decision from McFarlane that everyone was a bit sceptical of because he's had his issues pace-wise, etc. But a bit of leadership, physicality, he was winning his headers. Did you guys feel like it made a big difference?
When you lose the games we've been losing in the manner we've been losing them and the capitulations we've seen, the amount of 3-0 losses, from a meritocracy standpoint, you change the centre-backs at that point because there's no justification to keep playing Fofana. I think Hatto's been really good, and he said that in his post-match, but he needed height. And, Calvert-Lewin, in the air, he had one free header, which I didn't like to see, but apart from that, we dealt with him really well. And Tosin aerially is better than Hatto. He's older, he's more seasoned, but he had to make changes because we've just been conceding too many goals. And against Brighton, both the centre-backs made mistakes for 2 of the goals. So, yeah, for me, I think on a normal day, if we were defending competently, people would be like, what's going on here at centre-back? But the way we've been defending, Tosin's not been playing. So, at this point, anybody could play at centre-back. You can't really kick up too much of a fuss over it. We've been too poor.
But I thought as a unit, so you always defend from the front. I thought as a unit, we played well defensively. So always easy to look at the centre-halves and the full-backs. But more often than not, you can pick a goal out or a mistake. You'll find a mistake probably higher up the pitch somewhere. Show me a goal and I'll show you a mistake that leads to this, that mistake, that mistake, that mistake. But it's highlighted in the 2 centre-halves because we have been so porous. And there have been some terrible goals. The one that I can't get around is, I can't get rid of his name, Smith against Wrexham. That long ball over the top, 2 centre-halves, 1 ball down, he has a touch and finishes it well. That's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. And they dealt with Calvert-Lewin really well. They were up for the fight. They're 2 warriors, actually, the pair of them. Chalobah likes the physicality of the game. Tosin clearly does as well. And I thought the pair of them were brilliant. Really, really good.
Yeah, it was lovely to see Chelsea play well.
A clean sheet.
A clean sheet and a goal.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
mad. Should have been 2. There was a lovely bit of play we had.
Yes,
build up
after half time.
So slick.
Yeah, João Pedro, I don't quite know why he wanted the perfect goal. He had the chance to pull the trigger. And once you hesitate, they've got bodies and legs and limbs around the ball and the chance had gone. But hey,
hit the post as well. Very unlucky with that effort. So yeah, we could have got another goal. It would have helped the nerves, I think.
Yeah, and do you think with that centre-back partnership, keeping a clean sheet that we've waited for a long time for, that will be the partnership going forward, or do you think it's game dependent?
I wouldn't be so sure on that partnership for all the games. I think at the moment it feels like a case-by-case basis until we see.
Callum, right? You've got a handful of games. You've got a handful of games. If they're fit. I mean, Tosin, how many games has he played this season, Tosin? Chalobah's just come back from... he's had I don't know. I think continuity right now would be the way forward for me. You are my number 2, my number 1, number 2 centre-halves. You're the partnership. I would stick with that, unless there's an issue and a niggle. And is fatigue coming in now? I don't know. Am I being harsh or not?
I don't know. Although it was a very good performance from Tosin, I've seen too many mistakes this season from him and too many poor performances to put it in my head that he could be playing every single game to the end of the season.
Well,
maybe I'm being harsh.
So we got,
but it depends. I think it depends on the team you're playing. If you're Nottingham Forest, there's some physical, strikers in there. I could understand how that would make sense.
I think
now when you play Liverpool,
really good game away at Forest. I remember back in the last season, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because of that physicality.
But if you play Liverpool at Anfield, and I don't know. For me, then I'm not so sure. I don't know. It's difficult. I don't trust any of the centre backs, to be honest. And that game isn't gonna change that. I'm gonna need more games before I trust anyone.
I just wonder whether Callum's come in. He's got a handful of games.
Yeah.
There will of course be rotation, but I don't know whether you want to rotate the set. I'd be tempted.
You don't want to, no.
Yeah, I'd be tempted to keep that as was and see how things go forward. But look, he's done all right, Callum, hasn't he?
He has. Big decisions that have gone well in his favour. I don't think Callum will be getting the job. I don't know about you guys. I don't think he'll he'll be getting that long contract. But it does beg the question, who do you think, maybe not necessarily who do you want, but what direction do you think they're going in terms of managerial appointment? Because obviously this is huge.
Yes, it is.
To get this right.
And they've done the right thing in taking their time. They bought themselves some breathing space. I think it's fair to say that there have been some mistakes. I think they'll openly admit that themselves. You do not hire and fire a manager within 106 days. That appointment clearly was a terrible one that started okay, but then the pattern was emerging. It was just, and I think there must be a time of self-reflection on the club internally about how can that decision be so wrong. Then this one, got to get right. Most important decision a club will ever make, ever, is who is your head coach, who is your manager. What sort of football club do you want to look like going forward? Personally, if Iriola rocked up at the beginning of next season, I would not have an issue with that at all. The style of football that he plays, easy on the eye, young players come in, you see how that squad was ripped up with Kirkes going and Howson going, and that back four, all of a sudden he clearly can deal with changes in the squad. That may well be something that they'll look at. I think he knows the Premier League. I think that's crucial because of the tactically how so many teams turn up and defend in different ways against you. But I'm open to other ideas as well. I know Matisse's got one or two as well.
I think, for me, the absolute cap and ceiling of what we can attract is probably a Cesc Fabregas, in my opinion, just based upon where we're at. I think a lot of the other managers that I would love to have would probably want Champions League football, would maybe financially want a bigger budget than maybe we will be able to offer in terms of the transfer market. I don't know what our situation will be. But I think we should be aiming for the moon, for the stars. You know, Xabi Alonso has won a treble. I would love to see him at the club. I think the players need someone that they can respect before they even open their mouth. You know, we've seen this team are very easily led astray in terms of ill discipline, in terms of leaking lineups, in terms of lack of concentration. They can tip over the edge quite easily, I think, if the right man is not appointed to lead this team and set an example and set a certain precedent and standard. And I always say it's not sometimes what you said, it's who said it. The same words can come out of Zidane's mouth and come out of Iriola's mouth. It's two different people saying it. Zidane is impossible, but I said it on another show. Someone like that, before they even say anything, the players are whispering, "Oh my God, that's the head coach. Oh my God, we need to impress him. Oh my God, he said I was good today in training." And it's infectious. Whereas for me, Iriola, I'm not sure if that's much different to a Poch in terms of, yes, he's got Premier League experience. Yes, he's done a good job at Bournemouth. But ideally, that step up, no disrespect to Tottenham, that's the next club that I would like a manager to, is Thomas Frank. You see what they can do there before you even think about coming to one of the elite teams, one of the top teams. I know that's not the team we are right now, but I feel like a Fabregas or Xabi Alonso, I think their playing career kind of speaks for itself, and I think they'll command that respect straight away with this group. Obviously, Diego Simeone is there as well.
I love that shout.
That is the most Chelsea-coded manager that hasn't managed Chelsea. And you talk about setting standards and discipline and precedent, he's
I mean, yes, you look at him and you go,
So
look like
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
So Chelsea.
Unfortunately, I believe his English is not the greatest. I think that's one of the
What a Spanish
Get a
speaking
translator in there.
Yeah, of course.
Jose Mourinho do the translating again?
There is ways around it. I'm not saying there aren't, but I do believe that is a bit of an issue if he was ever to come to the Premier League. I mean, look what Cesc is doing over at Como. There were one or two rumours coming out of Italy this week that they've not taken to him. Some of his style of play, he is coming for some criticism. Obviously, Cesc we know who he is and what he's done. He's a legend at Chelsea. I just wonder whether it's that bit early.
Yeah, for sure.
Do we want to see him go to a Bournemouth in the Premier? Do you know? I just there's that little nagging doubt in my mind that I don't want to ruin him yet, or don't want it to be ruined yet, because it feels like that one day he will be. I don't know whether it's the move before the move.
The problem with Cesc
like
is if you don't get him now, I don't think you get an opportunity to get him when he is ready, because I think someone else will snap him up.
Maybe.
That's the thing with Cesc. I think he's like that. I mean, Vincent Kompany, I didn't even see that at Burnley for a Bayern Munich move. But I feel like the Cescs, these type of guys. I mean, Xabi Alonso, went straight to Real Madrid. I feel like we're having a changing of the guard in terms of managers right now. Your Mourinho's are being phased out a little bit. Your Contes. Simeone's never moving. Zidane is set on France. There's Klopp's not going again. There's not many options. So these kind of Cescs and Xabi Alonso's and these guys, they are kind of looking like they'll take those top jobs in England potentially if Pep goes. We've seen Maresca linked. If Arteta goes, I would not be surprised to see Cesc at Arsenal. I feel like if you don't get them before, I mean, this is what the project's all about. You get them before they're too good. And I think that Cesc one is an example of that.
Cesc does feel like the option that ticks every box, where you've got the fans that are going to be on board because it's Cesc.
Yeah.
you've got a guy where you think, as a football brain, surely this guy's going to be a good manager.
And what he's doing at Como.
Yeah.
You know, the most important thing.
Challenging for Champions League.
What he has done with them from Serie B up into Serie A and then causing all sorts of waves, making a big name for himself and doing it at a club like the size of Como. I mean, you know, not one of the big boys out there by any stretch of the imagination, but I wouldn't say no. I mean, to be honest with you, I think that, I don't know, there's no obvious candidate. There's no one you go, have to go and get him. There's no obvious one that stands out for me. You can make a case for a number of them. Whatever it is, they're paid the big bucks to make the big decision. Get this one right.
Do you share the same concerns, in your opinion, that Matisse has, for example, with an Iriola, that it's just...
I think there's always risk with every manager. You know, look at Arne Slot, right? Came in, right? That was a risk bringing him in. 12 months later, they're Premier League champions. 10 months after that, Liverpool has went out. That's just the nature of the beast. There is no guarantee. Maybe Pep,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But he needs things in place as well for him to succeed. And in all honesty, I'm not taking anything away what he's done, but at Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, he's had everything in place, hasn't he? He's had, you know, some of the best players, if not the best players in the world at that particular time to work with.
The biggest guarantee is like a Klopp, because that's someone that's just ticking every single box in terms of the Premier League experience, top level. But you know, he's not coming to Chelsea most likely. I think Zidane's aura alone would win us the Champions League, honestly. I think he could stand there in silence, not speak a word of English, and we'd win trophies. Just his presence. Honestly.
Yeah, maybe.
just stand there.
Remember Ancelotti? Just an eyebrow move, wouldn't it?
He just raised an eyebrow.
The eyebrow would go up.
His coaching staff will do all the training sessions, all of the drills. You just stand there, and the players will feel the pressure. They'll feel the expectation, just by you just being in the room.
Well, it wasn't just Cesc Fabregas that's actually linked with the Chelsea job in terms of a former Chelsea player. Felipe Luis is now out of a job, did a fantastic job at Flamengo. We played them in the Club World Cup. I thought they were a very well-drilled side. I'm not going to pretend I watch loads of Brazilian football. I don't. But that could be an option. He's 8-1 with BetMGM.
I just think the bookies have looked at him, seen he's an ex-Chelsea player and gone, he's out of work, he's a manager, he's done all right. I'm not convinced about that, personally. But you know, that's me just looking at the odds here and going, if I was choosing, there are at least two managers on this list, maybe three, that I'd have over him.
Potentially another one that was linked, that's always going to be linked with the Chelsea job, is Frank Lampard, who had a lovely weekend, obviously lifting the Championship, done a fantastic job coming out with Coventry. It's a weird one, Frank, because you have that emotional connection where you think, kind of want you to see you do well now at Coventry, but would you be open to a hat-trick of managerial roles at Chelsea?
Look, if I see Frank Lampard in the Chelsea dugout again, that'll be a very happy day. I just think from a Frank Lampard point of view right now, I love what Frank's done in the game, because he's tried all different types of things. He's gone to Derby, right? Done very well at Derby, come to Chelsea, done really well. People forget how well he did in that first year, getting us fourth on the transfer ban. The second season, things turned very sour. And when they went south, they stayed south. And then, of course, we know what happened with Tuchel. Then he went to Everton, kept them up, but whatever went on there, clearly that was... Then he come back, that time at Chelsea coming back. I think anyone that would have come back, Klopp, Pep, Jose in his prime, would have failed because of where we were and what the club felt and looked like at that time. Now he's gone to Coventry.
Yeah.
I just feel, just let him go and do what he needs to do in the Premier League now. He's clearly happy, done a brilliant job. I don't know whether we need to disrupt that yet, because I think we always have. If Frank does come up again in 5-10 years' time, I think there'll always be that we are Chelsea, and if there's two choices between that club and Chelsea, I think we'll probably always get the nod. I think maybe leave Frank alone on this one. It'll be my own gut instinct.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't go anywhere near. I think we are not in our healthiest position. I think someone that we have that much emotional attachment to, that we want to do that well in the game, this is not the right time. This is literally maybe the worst time. There couldn't be more.
It will be in better health one day, won't we?
Exactly. And then I want him to come in when we are our strongest, in terms of he's at his strongest with his experience, with his know-how, with his hopefully some trophies won, you know. And then we're at our strongest in terms of the player quality, in terms of just the overall mood and vibe at the club, and it just fits, and it's just the right time. Because when he does come here, I want him to win trophies. I don't want him to be digging us out of a mess. I don't want him to be, trying to help us survive a tumultuous time and we're trying to do the bare minimum. I want him to come in and feel like I can actually set some sort of legacy here from a managerial standpoint. I can actually win majors. And there's no better partnership than your former vice captain, or captain if it was Company's case in City, winning Premier Leagues, Champions Leagues as a manager at your club. That is the peak feeling as a football fan. You can't get any better than that. And the next time Frank comes into this job, after being here twice, that's what we need to be aiming for, nothing less.
That emotional link will always be there. Frank will always have it. We'll always have it with Frank, and Frank will always have it with us. But right now, but he's got a job to do still at Coventry, because we've seen what Sunderland have done, we've seen what Leeds have done this season. All right, Burnley to a lesser, they've kind of fallen off. Can Frank keep Coventry in the Premier League? Can he? They'll need recruitment, then they'll get things right. I spoke to Frank on the Sports Bar the other night. He's very excited about it. He's very emotional. What he achieved at Coventry is pretty remarkable, actually, from where they were to where they are now.
Yeah.
To win the league like that in style, I hope Frank keeps them up next season. He has a right run at it, and he will be a better manager at the end of next season than he is right now.
Yeah, I love the wording I picked up on you in terms of when he comes. Like with Frank Lampard, I just feel this inevitability of Chelsea fans. So it's like, we'll be back. We'll be back.
Look, our turnover of managers, Frank is still young enough, right? And our turnover of managers is quite prolific.
Quite a lot. Like the turnover, the hit rate is insane right now, honestly. I mean, we just had one for 106 days, like you said.
Yeah.
So
beat that.
I think we could.
And I want Frank to be that man.
Yeah.
No. Come on, Frank will be a much better manager. 2, 3, 4 years' time, 5 years' time.
Yeah.
Frank will still be learning his trade. Will still be a manager that's picking up on bits. And I want the best version of. Next time he comes, I want the very best version of Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you spoke about like time periods of him joining. This would be a bit more of a tumultuous time. Do you think that maybe does us a favour in terms of it's been that bad under a senior that whoever they appoint, they're very aware they need to make a big jump up. There can't be as much risk to it. I know you said there's always risk with the new manager, of course there is. But someone who is a bit more surefire, someone who feels more like a Chelsea appointment, do you feel like that's the direction not just needed to take, but will be taken?
I'll be honest, I'm very much I'll believe it when I see it, when it comes down to this ownership and these directors, because there's been very obvious things that should have happened and should have been done in their tenure that hasn't been done. And for me, it's at a point now where how many warnings do you need? Do you know, we've had enough appointments now. You've had enough signings that you've made, the amount of players that we've signed, the amount of managers we've appointed. At some point, you need to get this right. You need to understand what you're getting wrong and start making decisions that are going to have long-term benefits at this football club, because you can't keep going through this amount of managers. Every time you sack a manager, especially under the manner we've done it with Liam Rossini, who's building up a nice name for himself at Strasbourg, young guy, promising guy potentially, and you end up feeling sorry for him because it looks terrible on his CV, and he never really stood a chance. When you really look at it, he's coming in midway through the season, and he's dealing with a situation where you've got games every 3 days, big competitions, Arsenal, PSG, and he's also trying to implement his own philosophy with a group of players that he has to kind of almost over compliment in terms of Pedro Neto's world class, etc., to try and get them on his side. It's like, come on now. He was not ready for the job. Don't put people in a position that they're not ready for. Don't fast track people into this and start taking this a little bit more seriously. This is Chelsea Football Club. It's not, and not anyone can just manage this club. And that's why I don't really get onto the players for downing tools, because if anyone could manage this club, then they would have an easy time appointing the lowest wage, the lowest wage guy, the lowest. You have to make the shoe fit. The manager has to align with the players and has to align with the club and has to align with the expectations. You can't just appoint anyone.
You look back at the appointments they've made. So Potter, Maresca, I'm not talking Frank here, but Potter, Maresca, and now Liam Rossini. They are managers that are still very much learning their trade. And that's what I'm a little bit worried about, Cesc, because he fits that mould, and are we making the same mistake again? I want someone that is established, right? Ideally, that knows his way around the Champions League, that's won major honours. I think many of them around that are available. And I think there's that next rung that we are looking at, and that's where I believe we should be looking at domestic. How much do you know about the Premier League? I think that can be important, I think is important. Not necessarily a box that has to be ticked, but the other boxes do need to be ticked in my mind. What have you won? What competitions have you played in? And what has your stature been in the game, either as a player or as a manager? There's a lot of boxes there to tick.
Our most successful managers, they didn't manage in the Premier League before,
no, it's not
before us.
No, it's not. It's not a particular criteria that needs to be ticked. But if you've got that experience, I think it can only help. Can't be a negative, can it?
No. Well, someone who was linked, I was a little bit sceptical this week, who has actually won a trophy, he's worked in the Premier League for years, was Eddie Howe. Right. Still on a job at Newcastle. Would that be something that you think, absolutely not, or...?
Well, he ticks a lot of those boxes, doesn't he?
He does.
It doesn't feel right. I don't get excited about that. I'm not... Look, he's done a brilliant job at Newcastle. It does feel as though that relationship is coming to its natural end, just purely by what's happened behind the scenes with Isak going, haven't been out of place, Vissa's come in, Voltamada isn't playing them, Joselu looks like he may well have the nod up top. But in terms of what he achieved at Newcastle, I think he'll leave there with his head held high and go, what more could I have done?
It's a very flat appointment for me. That's the best word I could use to describe flat. It just doesn't fill me with much ambition, It doesn't excite me in terms of... And I don't think it excites the players. Again, this is... The players are the ones that play on that pitch. You need to inspire those players. You need to get those players on side. Those players need to want to run through brick walls for you. And I feel like the only two routes you can go down is a world-class, elite-level manager who's managed top players, top clubs, mad CV, big reputation, or former player, big career, played at big clubs, and just...
Who is that man?
That is a Fabregas or a Xabi Alonso. That really is all that I can, that even Felipe Luis in terms of his Chelsea stint, he was on the bench for Azpilicueta. There's not much to sell in terms of, this is what I did, this, that and the third. You're not leaning on much.
There ain't many, there's not a lot, there's not a huge list out there. You go back 15 years ago, you could have rattled off all sorts of names. Yeah. And to be honest, we had most of them.
Yeah.
Didn't we at some point? The amount of managers you look back and think, well, he managed Chelsea, I'm at a point where Xavi, even though I don't think it makes a whole pile of sense, because I've not seen him outside of Barcelona, his playing career, managerial career at the top level, would make more sense than Eddie Howe. Because I'm just looking at from the player's perspective, if Eddie Howe walks through the door and Xavi walks through the door, which one are they going to be more excited by?
Definitely.
Who are they going to listen to? I think it's going to be the former player.
There was even a part of me the other day, I was thinking about it, I was like, it's a shame Thiago hasn't done 1 or 2 years. Because someone like that...
He won't stop playing.
Player that they respect, love the club, got that leadership about him.
If you think about what Carrick has done at Manchester United, Steve Holland is his number 2. The number 2 is so important because Carrick will lean on that experience. Now, I don't know whether Thiago is... Maybe, think about... He wants to do his coaching badges, from what we know. Might he be a number 2? I don't know whether that suits him, but I mean, I'm fantasising now about potentially what it could look like. But but that's another really important point I think is worth making about when Liam Rosenior came in. Your number 2 has to have, I believe, what Carrick has done is the perfect appointment. Whoever made that decision at Manchester United, well done you, because you've got a man there that knows English football, been in that situation, whether it be at Chelsea, whether it be with England, high pressure situations, to make those decisions, someone to lean on. You turn around, you've got Steve Holland sat there. That's what we need to think about as well.
It's very true. I remember Carlo had Ray Wilkins, and you had Steve Clark with Mourinho. There was always that sort of past person that they could look to on the side next to them.
It's needed.
Yeah, and I think in those situations there will be moments, pressurised moments. Maybe a player gets sent off. And who are you looking to? You need to think. I'm trying to work this out. You need to think on my behalf. That's their job. Is to support in certain moments, not just on the training ground, but sometimes a game can go wrong inside 3 or 4 minutes. How do you react? What is your shape? Who are you making on? What's the personnel?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, something that did go wrong at some point was Nicholas Jackson at Chelsea. Obviously went off to Bayern in the summer. Scored 7 in 10, so in good form at the Bayern at the moment. And they've confirmed they are not going to be activating his release clause. Is that something you'd like to see return to Chelsea, or do you think this bridge is burnt? Or
I feel like there are a few positions that are open to inject maturity, experience, quality, leadership, intangibles that we are lacking. One of those positions for me is that backup striker role or that second striker role to João Pedro. There's not many positions where we can do this. You don't tend to get it from wingers. You can definitely get it from centre-backs, but you can definitely get it from experienced strikers who hold up the ball, who lead from the front. And Jackson, for all of his good attributes outside of the box, he still can't head the ball. He still doesn't have good shooting technique, good shooting in terms of finishing, even to Loic Remy, Batshuayi kind of standard. I look at Demba Ba, I look at other strikers we've had. For me, when you're bringing someone off the bench as a striker, it's usually because you need to kind of chase the game, or you're just trying to win the game. And he's not a player that comes on and takes chances. He's not clinical. He misses a lot of chances. He's more of a momentum striker for me. You start him week in, week out. Now, he's not starting over João Pedro. Great link-up play with Palmer, great chemistry. But we've already got that type of forward up there already. So apart from his pressing, which is really strong, what are you having Jackson as a deputy for? Because Delap struggled with a lack of minutes, a lack of momentum. Jackson's going to have the same situation. For me, that's not the type of striker that we actually need behind João Pedro. Giroud was the perfect, for me, second choice striker. And I think that's more of the mould that we should go down, because that's going to add not only something off the bench, a different option, but also something off the pitch as well in the training ground. So, yeah, I think the ship sailed, but he's certainly a better option than Delap. But I don't think it's what we need, personally.
No, we used to be arguing about whether Crespo or Drogba would start. So it's a bit
Anelka.
different, isn't it? For Anelka, yeah. A lot of goals.
Those days, it's, you know, and Batistas right. I think that the relationship with the club has broken down. I do not see him coming back into the fold. Look, I might be wrong, but I can't quite see it.
Yeah. Well, we have to turn our attention to Forest next Monday.
Yeah.
They absolutely smashed Sunderland. I don't know if you caught that. It was unbelievable.
I watched the game. There was 3 goals in 6 minutes, and they just blew them away. Sunderland were on the ropes and didn't react. And you know, that's not. We're not going to do. That's not going to be the situation we find ourselves in. No way. But yes, approach this with caution, because they are on fire at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to make sure we don't see a one-off, obviously, because Leeds, it felt like a big uptick in our performance. This will be a good test to see where we stand.
Yeah.
Like you said, are they going to deliver in the Premier League? Is it not just about, oh, OK, it's a final, we'll be up for that? You know, we have got something to play for. I mean, even 6th this year, we could end up with Champions League football, believe it or not.
Well, which starts against Forest.
Yeah.
Show us what you got. Don't make this a one-off against Leeds. Don't just be this one. We got to a final. No, everything is not fine. Everything still needs to be repaired. Domestically, in the league, our form is still there to be shot at. We have been in the league form guide. We are the worst side in the country right now in the Premier League.
Behind Spurs.
Behind Spurs.
God.
They got a win at the weekend. All right. So the last 5 games, we are bottom of that table. That's got to improve.
Has to, absolutely has to. But now it's time for our Bet Builder with BetMGM. Remember, you can download the app or head to betmgm.co.uk. Please gamble responsibly. I've looked at this Forest game and I've gone for something rogue. Goals.
Oh.
I've gone with both teams to score. I think we're going to score again. I don't think we'll get another clean sheet.
No clean sheet?
Yeah.
You can't see that again, no?
No, I can't see that one. But I do think we're going to score a goal. So I've gone with both teams.
I get that. I mean, that's for large parts of this season, that's been one of the safest bets when you watch Chelsea. Of late, domestically in the Premier League, that bet's fallen off a cliff because we cannot score, we can't keep a clean sheet. So they both those go. I get that. I'm going to go for a Chelsea win. I want to see this momentum. I think after what happened at Wembley, I think now there's a new vision. Certainly, I think there's going to be more hope. The kickoff time's a nice time on a Monday as well. You know, there's something about that. So I'm going to go for a Chelsea win.
I'm going to go for 9.5 corners again. I just feel like Forest, they're going to try and lean on our set-piece situation. Let's see if Tosun starts. That will probably help airily. But any team that plays against us, they would have seen the goals that we've conceded this season. They would see dead ball situations, set-piece, wide areas, and I think they'll look to target that. I mean, even Leeds in the game at Wembley, they were constantly getting the ball out wide in the second half and whipping in crosses and corners. So, yeah, I'll go for that. The odds for that Bet Builder are on your screen now. But in terms of like line-up, would you keep it very much the same against Forest? Nothing to tinker with, or?
I wouldn't change it.
No.
I would not change it now. I think you can look to change one or two things. I don't know. Like I said, we've got 5 games left for the rest of the season. I would look to keep the momentum going. I'd look there to be continuity, partnerships all over the pitch. I would not change a thing.
I think the only thing that you're contemplating is Garnacho and Palmer, whether that gets switched out. But then you'd have to put Neto on the left, and that's 2 changes then potentially to what we did against Leeds. But apart from that, yeah, I think best bet is to leave everything as it is. Don't change it now because we've just won.
We have just won, exactly, build momentum. It's kind of crazy to think about, but there is a world that exists that we somehow get Champions League via coming 6th, send Tottenham down, and winning the FA Cup.
Yeah,
After all this. It does exist, it is out
well,
there.
look, there's any club out there that can have 3 managers in one season, okay, one last 106 games and go on and win a trophy. It's Chelsea. It's another final. It's 3 finals in 10 months, by the way.
Yeah.
Just over a year, sorry. Three finals, another one. No, we meant to win the Conference League, got the Club World Cup, but we are a side that functions under chaos somehow. A dysfunctional, functional family. We are nuts. We are crazy when it comes to that. But there's a little bit of time between now and Forest. You know, there's not this huge rush on now. There's a little bit of time.
If everything happened that you just said, I'd genuinely laugh. Like this would be so funny. It would
Win the
be,
FA Cup.
Yeah, send Tottenham down and somehow get... I mean, Champions League is just...
Those
that
three-
is genuinely laughable.
Yeah,
That one, that last
I don't know
one
what the odds will be on that one, by the way.
I'm not sure.
on that bet builder.
We need Villa winning Europa.
Yeah.
And them coming 5th.
Yeah.
But it could happen.
Now,
and it would be incredibly Chelsea.
Yeah, but then
wouldn't
we've still got to get ourselves in 6th. We still that's our job now, and that's starting to look a bit... Start with Forest.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to do. Start with Forest.
The lucky thing for us is that the lower down the league you fall, the less consistency there is with the teams you're fighting with. And maybe 2 wins and a draw out of those 4 will probably get you it.
It does feel like that. I don't know. It's starting to come together as a bit
We've
of a
got to beat
Chelsea
Forest.
season.
Have to beat Forest, right? Have to beat Spurs, and probably have to beat Sunderland. Liverpool won. That might, in some weird way, it
Might be better to let Liverpool win so they
Not
get ahead of Villa.
So they get ahead of Villa. In a weird way.
I think they all play each other as well.
Yeah,
United, Liverpool, Villa.
It's quite incestuous in there. You know, everyone's playing and taking points of one another. But yeah, I mean, that Liverpool game, if we're going to win 3 games this season, Forest, Sunderland, Spurs. Take those 3.
Not City.
And those... Oh, the FA Cup.
If you could pick, yeah.
Oh, no,
just
sorry,
league.
I'm
Just
talking
league.
sorry, I'm
Yeah.
just talking about league.
Just
Just talking about league, right?
Yeah.
Those 3, that might get us into 6th.
It should. I'd be shocked if you need 10 or 12 points to get into 6th when you're competing with the Brightons, etc. They're all inconsistent. So
Yeah, it's looking like that Spurs game will be midweek, hopefully after the FA Cup, I'm thinking.
Yeah, almost certainly after the FA Cup.
Yeah. We don't want to be resting before, we want to be
almost
going into that
can't
Yeah,
rest
yeah.
regardless. Even if it was to flip the other way around.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows what that Tottenham game means is not resting.
Well, it's going to be one of those ones again where you go, if you could pick which one to win out of City and Spurs.
Oh, well, look, give me silverware. If we're going to lift an FA Cup, that's...
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
Spurs...
Absolutely.
They still might lose. Who have they got last game of the season? Everton
Everton
I
at
think.
home,
Yeah.
yeah.
I couldn't care less about them.
Yeah,
Pick
you've always got
up-
to take silverware.
Pick up an FA Cup. Yeah,
Absolutely.
No, it does feel like we can build on this as well, and we need it. It does feel like after the season we've had, we need a bit of a respite. And
And it gives
yesterday
you know what
was
it
that,
does as
wasn't
well.
it?
Can you imagine if we'd lost at the weekend? Okay, what that would have done for our mood, the fans' mood, the season would have been over.
Yeah.
We are then scrapping around, trying to find some form, trying to find the formula, trying to get something right to squeeze into 6th. Now there's a bit more belief. I'm getting it from you two as well, right? I'm starting to genuinely feel, yes, we've got an FA Cup final to look forward to. That's so important that we have something to look forward to. In between that, now there's competition places. They want to be in the starting lineup. Now the fans, they're going to rock up against Forest. We've got something to look forward to. The whole mood has changed, completely changed. We've got to make sure we get to the FA Cup final on good form, because we can beat City. And City almost certainly will rest players because they have their eyes on a bigger prize. So we saw what they did against Southampton at the weekend.
Yeah.
They may well rotate, which may well give us a little bit more of an advantage.
Yeah, it's beginning to feel a bit exciting, isn't it? But that's it for another episode of Inside Chelsea, sponsored by BetMGM. Download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk, 18+, gambleaware.org. We'll be back next Wednesday to look back on that Forest game and look ahead to our huge game against Liverpool at Anfield. Thank you very much for your company, and thanks to Jason and Matisse. See you all next week. And all together now,
Up the
Up the
Chelsea.
Chelsea.